Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Future State Week 3. We've got 6 comics to go through here in Week 3. We got the part 2 of the next Batman. We got Nightwing, Future State, Shazam, Catwoman, Immortal Wonder Woman, and finally Superman Worlds of War by Philip Kennedy Johnson, PKJ. In any event, how's Week 3? Is it any good? How does it compare to Week 2 and Week 1? Well, why don't we dive in and find out. The first one we are going to be doing is going to be Catwoman and the Catwoman Future State. Now, this is written by Ram V, and the artist is Otto Schmidt. And I really like this one. This is actually my personal favorite for Week 3. So I'm starting off with a bang here. This is the Great Train Robbery, and what the central conceit of Future State is that obviously it takes place in the future. One of the criticisms of Future State is that in the various titles, it's not entirely clear exactly where in the future timeline a lot of this sort of falls into play. It's sort of left up to we the readers to sort of like read all the different comics and to sort of fit them into a narrative ourselves, and that is possible. I'm kind of getting the hang of what's going on here. And a good example is this particular issue of Catwoman. Ram V does a really good job here because this is ultimately just it's essentially just a story about Selina in the future pulling off a train robbery. But there's so much more because we're introduced. There's a couple of new characters here that we're introduced to. One of them is the Cheshire Cat. Seems to be potentially Selina's new sidekick. And she's got a whole following of stray cats. Selina's stray cats are essentially the homeless and the forgotten people of Gotham City that are essentially terrorized ultimately by the almost the police state that is controlled by the magistrate. And the magistrate has, of course, all his minions doing his bidding, particularly in the form of the various peacekeepers. In any event, what I really like about this particular issue of Catwoman is I love artistically how Otto Schmidt he does these various designs. I thought it works very well. Catwoman literally hops on this fancy motorbike and flies onto this train, which contains 2 very special prisoners. And in the meantime, it does a good job setting up and establishing that Selina's got her own following of people, the stray cats that she calls essentially the forgotten people of Gotham. And she's got a following, and she's also got an inside person on the train that is being guarded by essentially peacekeepers and Gotham's new elite. And the central mystery of this particular issue is who are these prisoners that are being hauled? And does Selina know that one of those prisoners could it be Bruce Wayne? Well, spoiler alert, yeah, it actually is. And one of them is also a character that I haven't seen in a long time is Onomatea or Onomatopia. I think the last time I saw him was in Kevin Smith's Green Arrow run. It was a character introduced by Kevin Smith, and he just speaks in sound effects. And he's one of the Selina runs into him on the train and basically makes a deal with him, saying, "Look, you can go free, but just help me get rid of these guards because I want to get in here and I want to rescue the people that are on this train." And of course, all on the train, it is revealed in 2 of the cars of the train are I think it was in Coach 4 and Coach 12 are these prisoners, and in Coach 12 is Onomatopia, and on another one is Bruce Wayne. And boy, oh boy, I'm sure I butchered that name. But in any event, I really like the art here. I love the progression of events. I loved how she was going from car to car, and I liked how it built up suspense. And I love the reveal of the person that is actually that is working with Selena inside the train undercover, and that is Talia al Ghul, none other than Talia al Ghul. That's amazing. And Talia, of course, is involved in wanting to rescue Batman, and the two loves of Batman's life rescuing him. It was a little bit unclear to me. I'm not entirely sure if Selena actually knows that Bruce is one of the prisoners on the train, if she knows that or not. One Because at the beginning, I know Cheshire Cat, her sidekick, essentially mentioned that acknowledged that she loved Bruce Wayne and that Batman is dead. And so did Selena in fact know that who exactly was on the train? None of that has been specifically revealed yet. That'll be revealed, I'm sure, in the next issue. But overall, I was thoroughly entertained by this. I thought the art was very well done. I thought it worked. I love some of the I quite like some of the it read like a movie. I enjoyed it. It read like a good heist movie. A lot of the various camera angles of the art I thought were entertaining enough. The artistry itself of Otto Schmidt, he's not necessarily my favorite artist, but he does a good job here telling the story. Overall, I can't complain. And even the coloring, the coloring was interesting as well, because the train itself was had very sort of almost muted colors, reddish colors. The various coaches of the train itself had their own unique style, and I almost got almost like a Star Wars Empire effect. That this I like this feeling of this magistrate. I think Future State's done a good job of piquing our interest as to who the magistrate is, and because I'm still not entirely clear, is it Damien? Is it Jason Todd? Who is it? We're gonna have to wait and find out. But now the next one, Superman Worlds of War. Now this is one I was really kind of curious to see how this was going to turn out, because this is Superman, and we finally get a break from Bendis' Superman, which I think most of us can agree has been was a huge disappointment. And all of a sudden, we know we have a title called Superman Worlds of War. All I knew from the solicits is that Superman is going to be fighting. Superman is, well, it's like War of the Worlds. He's on Mongol. He's a gladiator fighting Mongol again. And I was surprised how this issue was structured, because almost this entire issue, which is beautifully drawn by Mikel Janin, the art's fantastic. The whole issue is about essentially a bunch of young adults talking about how important Superman is to them, and they're on Earth. Superman is apparently gone. They don't know where he is. Most of these students assume that Superman is dead, and they're talking about Superman. They're sitting around. They're just talking about hope, and one girl in particular gets upset because she seems that everyone's giving up hope, and they basically regale each other with stories about what has happened during the entire period of time, during the time period leading up to Future State. Apparently there was Kryptonians floating around the sky and in the universe, and they're fearful of what might happen to Earth if Superman is gone. And you get little bits and pieces and hints of what led up to it. All we know, though, is that Superman is indeed, he's no longer around. And so this terrifies a lot of them, because what are you going to do when hope is gone? And of course, one girl says, look, don't give up hope. Shame on you guys. How could you possibly do this? Don't give up. And finally, at the end, we see what looks like almost like an alien coliseum of some kind. Superman's being pulled out by this monstrous creature, and he's talking to the person that he's going to be protecting in the gladiatorial combat, and that's really how it ends. This issue is called The Many Lives of Clark Kent. I don't know why, The Many Lives of Clark Kent, and then it ends teasing next issue, which will be called The Many Deaths of Superman. Now, what's rather, I can't help but to be a little bit disappointed. I didn't feel I needed to know how important Superman was, but I think that was writer Philip Kennedy Johnson's way of sort of establishing the tone and the mood of the planet Earth, that Superman is gone, hope is gone, and sort of being sort of alluding, foreshadowing the eventual return of Superman and people's feelings of hopelessness. But some people don't lose hope, yeah, like the young woman at the beginning of the issue. And Superman here is trapped on Warworld. And how did he get there? We're not sure. I will say that what's interesting about this is exactly what was hinted at in many a solicits all that time ago. And this was definitely something that flowed out, I think, of a Bendis storyline. I'm actually glad it's being crammed into 2 issues so that we can just get it over with. I mean, I don't mind it. The art's fantastic, but can Mikel Janin do 2 issues in a row? It takes him a long time. He can only do 2 issues in a row. I know that when he did Wonder Woman, he could only do 2 issues, and then that was it. So hopefully, if this is going to be 2 issues or longer, Mikel Janin stays on, because the art is really good. So overall, it's not bad. Probably arguably maybe my second favorite of week 3 after Catwoman. Now, Immortal Wonder Woman. I gotta say, I still love Yara Flor. Wonder Woman, this was a huge disappointment for me. But I will say this about it. I did like the art, and I'm just gonna say, what is the artist here? The artist is I actually skipped over who the artist was for this. It's Jen Bartel. Jen Bartel's the artist. That's who it is. I like Jen. I like Jen Bartel's art. Good Lord. I almost said a swear word there. Did you catch that? I didn't have to edit it out. I try not to edit this crap that I do. I just like to rattle it off and get it done. But in any event, it's good art here. Good art. It's unfortunately, this is all over the place. I'm really thoroughly not interested in this story. What? It's the end of the universe. Everyone's dead. Why does Wonder Woman give a shit if everyone's dead? Why don't you just die, Wonder Woman? Like, seriously, what's at stake? This is such a stupid setup. It's such a stupid storyline. It's thoroughly uninteresting. Nothing is at stake. Who cares? You're the only one left, Wonder Woman. You and Swamp Thing and Superman and Darkseid. So why don't you all die? Like, who cares? Like, what are you trying to save? Why? I mean, you didn't care at the end of Death Metal 7. You were prepared to let the entire multiverse die because you were too gutless against the Batman Who Laughs. You couldn't even defeat him. Good Lord. Like, I'm serious. This is just such a disappointment. Mischaracterization of Batman as well. I don't know. She's going and she speaks to a holographic version of Batman, takes his utility belt as a remembrance. Why? Did you sleep together? Did you finally sleep together and we didn't know about it? Why do you want to wear his belt? I guess, I'd like to see the story as to why you got so close to Batman that 2,000 years later, or how many millennia later, you want to wear his belt. Tell me that story. That's what I want to hear. But this, I don't know. Beautiful art. Fantastic art. I mean, look at this art. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay. Yeah, Jen Bartel's the artist. Pat Broszo on the letters. And Peach Momoko did a variant cover. It's awful. I don't know what people see in Peach Momoko. She's like a cheap, she's like one of those artists you would see that's just learning the ropes at a Comic-Con convention. I don't understand the Peach Momoko. Probably is a variant cover that people will want to get in the spec market, but not this guy. In any event, the art here is really good. Now, Jen Bartel, I got a lot of Jen Bartel's art primarily from, she did Gem and the Holograms, and I got some of her early work there. But her art doesn't work well when drawing Darkseid, because Darkseid almost looks like a different version of the Thing of Marvel of the Fantastic Four, and it doesn't really work all that well for me. But it's got a different kind of its own eye-catching appeal. Here we have Big Barda and Orion getting killed. Again, all the multiverses, all the universe is falling apart. Wonder Woman is attacking. Darkseid attacks an older Superman. Why are they fighting? I mean, Darkseid was the smartest. Once again, Wonder Woman's the dumbest person in her own comic book. And I'm not talking Yara Flor, who's actually interesting, but this woman is boring. Not only that, she cries like a little suck. Like, look at her. She's crying. Wonder Woman, what are you crying about? how about getting the stick out of your ass and getting a job? Like, what's the purpose here? You want you want Swamp Thing to bring the green back? Okay, I guess. What a boring story. Like, what a really, really boring story. What's at stake? I don't know. Why the Amazons still around? Why'd they leave Earth? I mean, the most interesting questions are just not addressed. This is definitely. I mean, this is visually. This is. I like the art. It's beautiful to page through and look at. Okay, it is, no question. I like the art, and visually it works for me. But once again, a horrible story about Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, the dumbest person in her own comic again, and now she's immortal. So now she's been stupid an awfully long time. She just doesn't never seems to use the wisdom of Athena. Really sad, really pathetic, and all tropey as hell. Very, very big disappointment. Probably one of the worst books. Well, this will be probably the second worst book this week. So disappointed with this story, but I like the art. Um, Now, the better story in Immortal Wonder Woman is Nubia here. This was the backup, and this was a much, much better story. And it has Grail. I love Grail. And I got to tell you, man, Grail is so kick ass. Absolutely. And for once, the artist here with Nubia, the artist is Alitha Martinez, is the penciler. L.L. McKinney is the writer. And what we learn through Nubia is that the Amazons have apparently left the Earth, and she's had a breakup with the Amazons, so she stayed behind on Earth because we don't know when in the future this is exactly, but it's presumably before the events of Diana in the Immortal Wonder Woman, and the Amazons have left the Earth. They've left Nubia behind to assume the mantle of Wonder Woman on Earth, and while she's there, she has this adventures where she's trying to prevent Grail from gathering nine pieces of stone that come together to form a key, and this key has its origins with the ancient Amazons, who a millennia ago created this essentially this weapon that gives you great infinite power or something to save, but you can use it to abuse and destroy the universe. Blah blah blah, and it's all well and good, and in protecting and in preventing Grail from finding the ninth and final parchment, or ninth and final piece of rock that'll form this key. Nubia ends up getting protected by it, and Grail tries to kill her, but this rock protects her, and it's again, it's interesting. She ends up talking to her aunt Nancy. And again, the art here is really beautiful. Again, Alitha Martinez. I actually find this art to be beautiful. I thought it was wonderfully detailed. I just love this. Really popped off the page, and you really saw there's a good relationship between Nubia and her aunt, and it takes she seems to own a bar, and the bouncer of the bar is I guess a creature of mythology. It reminds me of Fernando, the Wonder Woman chef Fernando, the sort of like a bull. Anyways, it's interesting that her aunt runs a casino slash bar slash nightclub, and is also an ancient Amazon herself. And Nubia is working behind the scenes. I guess I don't know what Nubia is. Does she have a secret identity? Doesn't she? I don't really know. I'm assuming that the magic lasso that Nubia has I'm assuming that is the magic lasso. That wasn't really confirmed. A little bit of a beef. The artist Alitha Martinez got Grail's eyes right. I remember during Wonder Woman's run that the artist routinely screwed up Grail's eyes. They made them look, because they're supposed to be deep red. They are deep red. The hair of Grail here is a little off. It should be pitch black. It's not. It's gray. Artistically, for some reason, Martinez made Grail's hair gray as Grail's skin, which I thought was a curious choice. but yet at times it looked black as well. So I don't know if that's just the colorist screwing up, uh, or the or just showing the fluctuation of hair color that Grail has. In any event, it was that's a nitpick, by the way. It's a nitpick, but it's one that, yeah, I'm nitpicking. It is what it is. Overall, I didn't mind it. I'm curious to see how it resolves. It's far better written than the one by Becky Cloonan at the beginning. This is the Nubia story is far more interesting than the Immortal Wonder Woman story, which I frankly could care less about. Who cares how it ends? It's ridiculous. But this Nubia story actually has me intrigued, and I love the appearance of Grail in it. And Nubia really seems kick-ass. Nightwing, Once Upon a Night in Gotham. This was actually a pretty good one as well. Now, Andrew Constant is the writer on this one. Nicola Scott is the artist. Now, Nicola Scott, I do think that her art on here was good. It was actually, I think, maybe a little bit rushed. I know that when Nicola Scott, probably her best work I've ever seen her do is on her Wonder Woman run with Greg Rucka. This seemed a little bit rushed for her, but overall the pencils were still pretty darn good. And the story here of Nightwing, I actually enjoyed this storyline. He ends up fighting a Peacemaker number 6, and it's interesting that he's got Nightwing ends up he's being hunted by the magistrate, and particularly the magistrate sends Peacekeeper number 6 after Nightwing, and they set him up by shooting him with a bullet with nanotech so they can trace his whereabouts. But Nightwing knows it's a trap, knows that the bullet had a tracer on it, and he's being tracked. And this couple that he helps and protects was actually I love how writer Andrew Constant shows how intelligent Dick Grayson is, because Dick Grayson knew from the body language that the people that he rescued weren't really victims, that they were just playing possum and they were going to pounce on him, because he could read their body language. And I like the way Andrew Constant did that, because it shows that he shows some knowledge of Nightwing. Nightwing's a very intelligent fighter. He's got years of experience, and it really shows here in this story. And it shows that Dick is pissed off that Batman is gone. He's angry at the magistrate. This is very well written. And I love the relationship it shows here between Peacekeeper 1 and Peacekeeper 2, and or Peacekeeper 6. And it seems like it's obviously a very fascist and militaristic organization, and that doesn't accept failure. To fail is to die, by the looks of things. And Peacekeeper number 6, she has, I don't know if she's half machine or whatever, but she's got a machine-like eye or something in place of an eye. And in any event, I note that they're in Commissioner Montoya's office. So at some point in the future, Commissioner Renee Montoya becomes the commissioner of Gotham, but is would appear to be that she's ultimately replaced by the magistrate. But in any event, so they end up going after Dick Grayson, and Batman, Tim Fox, Batman himself is aware that Dick Grayson is building up a rebellion, a resistance against the magistrate, so he makes an appearance. I love the fact that Dick Grayson, his headquarters, his secret headquarters, is actually in the ruins of Arkham Asylum. I love that, and Tim Fox finds him, and it ends up that both Tim Fox and himself, it ends with an imminent attack by the magistrate's forces waiting outside of Arkham Asylum, about to break in, and that's exactly what Nightwing wants. Nightwing wants a final battle. He's tired of waiting. He wants to get it over and done with, and he wanted them to bring the fight to him, because that way they're on his home turf, and he's, of course, I'm sure he's got all kinds of things. It's going to be like Home Alone, Nightwing style. Come into my house now that I've got it all rigged, waiting for you bloody jerks. It's going to be good to see. I'm really looking forward to this. I enjoyed this issue, and I think this is probably one of the best of the week as well. Now, Shazam, good Lord. Now, Shazam, this is one that I think is, I have to say, I'm disappointed with this as well. This is written by Tim Sheridan. Tim Sheridan also wrote Future State Teen Titans, and Eduardo Pansico is the pencils. One thing about Tim Sheridan, I was very disappointed with his Teen Titans. I thought it was overly confusing. difficult to follow. Wasn't really sure what's going on. And in this one too, I've just got a bunch of questions. Although it's once again, just like as Teen Titans, I think the plot points are very interesting, but they're presented in a very convoluted and confusing manner. And pacing is off, structure, everything is off. But there's enough here to keep me intrigued to want to know how it's going to resolve. It's called The Last Temptation of William Batson. And that's telling right off the bat because it's not really Billy Batson. It's an adult. It's an adult Billy Batson. Although throughout the entire issue, everybody calls him Billy Batson. But Shazam hates being called Billy, and he says, "Don't call me Billy." He hates it. And essentially, he's always waking up from a dream. And I'm trying to piece together exactly what happened here. But Shazam is on a sort of a future Justice League team that consists of the Vixen and the Question, and also I think the future Power, the other Power Girl, and Miss, I forget what her name is, Mrs. Martian Manhunter. In any event, he's possessed by he's not acting himself. And what's really weird here is apparently at some point, and I should maybe go back here, at some point writer Tim Sheridan doesn't explain who Neuron is, and new readers here are going to be completely lost. They're going to be completely lost because so you should know that Neuron is essentially DC's version of Mephisto. He's basically the devil. And for some reason, Neuron is at the Rock of Eternity, but he can't get into the Rock of Eternity. Now, why does Neuron want to get into the Rock of Eternity? I don't know. That's never explained. I don't know. Who cares if the devil takes over the Rock of Eternity? Is that a bad thing? Does it really care if the devil's in hell or if the devil's in the Rock of Eternity? I don't know. Does it? I don't understand what the big deal would be, but apparently you can't have Neuron taking over the Rock of Eternity because that's where the wizard is, but the wizard's not there. So Billy Batson, because Billy Batson has such a pure soul, Neuron can't get through Billy Batson, even though Billy Batson is in the form of Shazam. They're merged. I mean, Shazam is sitting there and not letting Neuron into the Rock of Eternity. Neuron wants to separate them, but Shazam says, I'm never going to say the word that splits us and makes us Billy Batson and Shazam. I'm never going to do that. But Neuron somehow has the power to split them up. And so Neuron separates Billy Batson from Shazam, and they end up, and then Billy Batson stays on the Rock of Eternity because it's Billy Batson's purity, I think, that prevents Neuron from entering the Rock of Eternity. So he's got to stay. Meanwhile, Billy Batson sends Shazam back to Earth because Earth still needs protecting. Now, I don't know why, for some reason, Shazam becomes corrupted, and Shazam himself is possessed or corrupted by something, and he ends up killing the Creeper, and he ends up killing a number of different people. He ends up killing it's even alluded to that maybe he killed Freddy, the Captain Marvel Jr. But we don't really know. Is he possessed by Neuron? Is Neuron whispering things in him? He's possessed. There's also a scene where apparently, the Question is noticing that Shazam is acting strange. Vixen is noticing it. The whole team is noticing it. And meanwhile, he's getting more and more agitated. He's getting sick and tired of people calling him Billy. Don't call me Billy. Don't call me that. Again, the Creeper's killed. And for some reason, Shazam is holding captive Johnny Thunder. None of this is really explained why. A lot of questions here. Again, it's kind of interesting, the idea of Billy Batson's pure soul guarding the Rock of Eternity from the devil's forces, and he's separated from Shazam, and Shazam's at Earth, and Shazam's becoming corrupted by somebody, maybe Neuron. It's not really explained. So there's a potential of a good story here, but it's just a little bit convoluted. So, I was overall, I have to say, I was kind of disappointed. Eduardo Pensica, his art was decent, though. I enjoyed the art. I really liked all the blood splatter all over the Creeper. I thought that was kind of cool. The colors by Marcelo Amiello were really good there. I apologize. Naturally, I mispronounce everything. Okay, carrying on. The next Batman. John Ridley's Batman, part two of the next Batman here. The story continues with it's ultimately revealed, confirmed here that in this issue that Tim Fox is Batman. He's just taking on. This is a different artist. It's Laura Braga is the artist here. Not as good as the initial. I don't know why they did an artistic change. That was abrupt because it was a different artist than the initial next Batman. But this was okay. I guess it was entertaining. It just starts off with Tim Fox, Batman, taking on the Magistrate's forces. But because he can't kill, he ends up getting wounded, and he doesn't want to hurt any of the forces. And he ultimately ends up in the midst of this whole thing. He's actually involved in trying to solve the vigilante murder of what appears to be a pedophile, and the people that killed this pedophile were the parents of a daughter who was killed. And Luke Fox, Tim Fox, Batman, still says it's still wrong. You still murdered this guy. You beat him to death brutally. You shouldn't have done that. That's still wrong. And so he's about to take them in, only to discover that the Magistrate's forces have found him, and these two vigilante parents, along with Batman, are going to be fighting the Magistrate's forces. Meanwhile, I just wanted to say here that Tanya Fox hates Batman. Tanya Fox is Tim and Luke Fox's mother. She works for the government. She is a lawyer, and it's her job to try to rewrite these fascist laws to make them sound legal, or to make them more likely to stand up in court, because the magistrate is changing all these laws and then implementing these laws and enforcing them through military tactics, which of course is unlikely to withstand constitutional scrutiny. But Tanya Fox hates Batman so much because all these masked people, they're responsible for ruining her life, and in particular putting her daughter Tammy, I think it's Tamara, in the hospital. And in the last issue, we saw that Luke Fox, Tim Fox, and Tanya, Mother Tanya, were all at the hospital, praying that their daughter would get better. And so bear in mind that Tim Fox, who is Batman, his sister, is in the hospital recovering from a coma, and his own mother is drafting laws that are making Batman's life a lot more difficult in Gotham City. Now, the backup features in the next Batman I enjoyed more than the story itself. I love Batgirls here. This is a great story with Cassandra Cain, who is essentially, Cassandra Cain finds herself, she infiltrates a prison, or she ultimately allows herself to get arrested and infiltrates this prison where Stephanie Brown is also acting undercover. That is ultimately revealed. And a lot of strange, eclectic people are in this prison, including Jason Blood, the Cheetah, Big Barda of all people, even Victor Zsasz, and they're all there, and they're all obviously there against their will. This is a story written by Vita Ayala, and Aniki is on the art, and Trish Mulville's on the colors. Colors are fantastic. They really pop off the page here. And ultimately, Cassandra Cain is breaking in because she thinks that Bruce Wayne, Batman, is actually being held captive under the prison itself. But in fact, it's ultimately revealed that it looks like it's actually Oracle that's under the prison itself. Cassandra Cain says that they were receiving secret messages from a place that they triangulated to be under the prison where she's infiltrating. And there's a message that she kept receiving, and it was et vitam, E-T-V-I-T-A-M, and et vitam. I Googled it. Apparently, it's a Latin phrase, and it means and live. It means and live. So one can presume that the message was interpreted as, Batman lives, or I live. And in any event, Cassandra Cain is hoping to find Batman. It's interesting that while Cassandra Cain, in this particular timeline, whatever that is, she's looking for Batman, thinks he's under the prison. In the meantime, we know that Bruce Wayne is actually on a train that Catwoman is on, and that Catwoman and Talia al Ghul are on in the pages of Future State Catwoman. So Bruce Wayne is always the figure and the shadow in the background of all these adventures in one way or the other. But in any event, I really enjoyed this backup. It was pretty good. The second backup in the next Batman was Gotham City Sirens Ladies Night Out. This is one where I'm a little bit baffled by. I don't know why this needs to exist, this backup, because it's so completely different. Paula Sevenbergen is the writer. Rob Haynes does the breakdowns on this, and Emmanuel Lupacino does the pencils. I love Emmanuel Lupacino, but again, I gotta say, this feels a little bit rushed for her. Emmanuel Lupacino, her art is usually better than this, but I'm wondering if maybe it's the breakdowns of Rob Haynes' breakdowns that maybe took away from this. But in any event, I don't really understand the point of this story. This is just Catwoman and Poison Ivy and a new character replacing Harley Quinn called Dee Dee, which stands for domestic unit of some kind. She's robotic, and I don't know. It's one of those things. I'm just trying to domestic droid. Sorry, Dee Dee is a domestic droid, and Slam Bradley's in here. I like that. The Magistrate. I don't know. It's like the Sirens. They want to take. I think this is meant to be kind of like maybe a play or trying to have a little bit more fun and jovialness with the Future State. This really reads almost like a Harley Quinn comic, like a classic Harley Quinn comic, like Jimmy Palmiotti or Amanda Cano would do, where Catwoman and Poison Ivy are just taking Dee Dee out on a night of a town because Dee Dee, who wants to experience life of a normal girl, even though she couldn't do that before, she's never been able to do that because she's a droid. She's a domestic droid. And so they take her out dancing, and then the nightclub is attacked by the Magistrate, and Slam Bradley is killed, and ultimately Selena Kyle is shot as well. And again, it's okay, I guess. It's just pointless. It's just I don't know if I really needed this story, but it's fun for what it is. I love Slam Bradley, but what a waste of his character to be in a story like this. I mean, the guy doesn't work in a nightclub. He's a PI, for God's sakes. Just really, this was a miss for me, but I can't say there's anything wrong with it. It's just something that's not needed in this. Anyways, it is what it is. It's okay, but anyways, that's where we are at, and that sums up week 3 of Future State. Overall, guys, I'm still generally happy with Future State. There's some hits and misses. The biggest misses so far have been Teen Titans and Shazam. The rest I find relatively entertaining enough that I'd recommend them as decent reads overall. So I'm actually liking this. I'm still liking it better than what came before it. Heck of a lot better than the Death and the Metal nonsense. In any event, guys, tell me what you guys think of Future State Week 3. And yeah, until next time, guys, hit the subscribe button. I'm almost at 1,000 subs. Wouldn't it be nice for me to hit 1,000 subs? I've been doing this for like a long time. I think it's going on like 5 years now. So I'm a guy that I'm taking a slow road to 1,000. You know what I'm saying? But in any event, hit the subscribe button if you can. Follow me on Twitter at Metropolis40. And Comic Boom out. Whoa.